Hi there, it's Amara, musician among other things, and today I just wanted to pop on and make a short, unedited video about my first trimester of pregnancy, kind of for a few reasons. One being my own records and memory, I don't want to forget this time. Also, to help encourage other moms out there who are going through this, or people who are considering going through this soon, and just kind of want to get a reality check for what it's really like. Definitely not to discourage anyone from parenthood, but just to help them prepare mentally, because it's not easy. So one thing I'm going to do is just kind of run through some of the symptoms I had and to what levels I had them, I guess. And I currently still have symptoms. Today I am 17 and a half weeks, and I am well out of the first trimester here and definitely still experiencing some of these things while at a much lower rate, which I'm very grateful for. And it's interesting how quickly your brain allows you to forget hard times. It's a blessing and a curse, I guess, but already just a few weeks out of the first trimester, my brain is already trying to help me forget the hard time that it was. So I'm gonna get right into it. I found out I was pregnant on November 16th. I was early on, probably about 5 weeks at that point. And within a week, I started developing symptoms. I didn't have any symptoms that made me feel like I should check if I was pregnant. It was just because of a slip up we had, and I just wanted to make sure. And it turns out the very first opportunity, we got pregnant. So for me initially, there was a lot of negative emotion because we were not trying, and it was very much a surprise. Now I'm really grateful to say that God's worked in my heart, and I am really, really excited about parenthood, and my husband has always been. So there's progress there, but it's important because not all of the symptoms of the first trimester are physical. There's emotional ones too. So I ended up developing nausea at the 6th week, right there at the beginning. It happened to be the week of Thanksgiving that I started to get sick, and I was still able to easily conceal my symptoms, but I was constantly, feeling really gross, not good at all. And mostly at first it was the starts of nausea. Excuse me. I wasn't developing the fatigue or the headaches or other things like that quite yet. That was to come. So it was just starting up, and then by 8 weeks I was pretty dang sick. I didn't get to the point that a lot of people I know get to. I don't have unusually severe symptoms. I believe I fit within the normal range of pregnant women and the symptoms they'll experience. And so, but yet it was still very hard and a very, very low point for me. So I just want to kind of encourage you all, though, you're gonna do it. You're strong. You're gonna get through. It's gonna be fine. And again, I don't want to scare you with any of this, but I just want you to know that it's okay to struggle with it. It's okay to ask for help, to be served and helped by others, to realize that you aren't going to be capable of doing everything you did before. So anyway, I'm getting off track. So nausea and vomiting was definitely my worst symptom throughout. I currently have thrown up about 25 times in the span of 10 weeks or so, and that's not too bad. But it's definitely more than some, and it's definitely less than others. My sister only threw up once in her first trimester, so it really does vary. You don't always have to throw up when you feel nauseous, but let's just say I could have thrown up a lot more. It's a lot about, you have to kind of calm and control it so that you can keep your nutrition down. So nausea and vomiting was the worst symptom I had, and I still have that to a degree, but it was definitely the worst between weeks 8, 9, all the way through, 13, 14. I had a week in early January where I threw up every day. I had a week in late December where I threw up 2 to 3 times a day for like 4 days in a row. So it's just, there's moments where you feel really depleted and discouraged and weak, and it sucks to not be able to keep food down for your baby because your baby needs that nutrition, and so you're feeling like guilty, almost like, oh, and you're hungry, and well, you're not hungry, but you're like, you know that you need this nutrition. Anyway, so that was my biggest symptom, and sadly, along with my nausea, I got my second most severe symptom, which was aversions. I didn't have any food aversions really, besides like a week of sweet aversions, but I actually was unfortunate to acquire an aversion to my husband's pheromones. So, and not just that, but just touch and affection in general. And it's so sad because physical touch is both my and my husband's first love language. So it was very weird and hard for both of us to go through about 6 weeks of literally, I could barely be near him. I could barely let him touch me. Like, it was very hard, and my husband was a champ, handled it like so amazingly and wonderfully. But yeah, it was not easy. It was not easy. That's something that comes and goes with the nausea. So as my nausea improves, so does that. If I ever felt less sick for a day, I wouldn't notice it at all. It's things that you're not normally able to detect that nausea causes you to detect. And it wasn't anything like, oh, he smells bad or something. It was literally just like the strength of the smell. Because I was so attuned to it, it was so powerful that it really, really affected me, and it could cause me to throw up instantly. And I felt so terrible about it. But apparently, guys, this can be a common symptom. So if you're feeling this, or if you are going to feel this, please don't feel alone. Just communicate and make sure your partner still feels loved and that they don't feel like they're doing anything wrong, because they're not. Yes, that was my second worst. Next was fatigue, and I still have that. Actually, this week has been a rough week of, I'm getting close to doing what I used to do before I was pregnant, when it comes to working, work at home, and just extra things, hanging out with some friends and stuff, and I get so depleted and drained. Like, I can stare at a wall for hours and be, not hours maybe, but at the end of the day, just stare at a wall and be content because my brain is so exhausted. It's very real. It's a fatigue you've never experienced before. It was definitely a lot worse when I was sick in many other ways, and basically this fatigue makes it so it's basically impossible to do anything. You're gonna be late wherever you go, probably. There's just things that go with it. Overall, I was so sick during the first trimester that I could not lift a finger at home. It was just barely what I could do to maintain my normal work, which is already part-time. So it wasn't too overwhelming, and it was a good distraction. Sometimes distraction can help you feel a little less sick. And for me, for me, doing something like that and getting a little distracted, it did help with the days feeling not as long. And I never threw up away from home. It seems like my body didn't feel comfortable enough to do that away from home. And so whenever I was away from home, it was kind of just slightly better, just a little bit. Still really hard, but yeah. So for me, it was worth it to continue working despite how hard it was. But other than that, I could not do a thing. My husband works as a teacher and coach right now, and he works overtime weeks on the regular, and like 60+ hour weeks. And he would come home and he would do the cooking, he would do the dishes, he would do the shopping, the meal planning, and a little bit of cleaning. A lot of things that we share normally, but I will tend to do more of because I work less. And he just picked up and did these things, and honestly, I don't know how I could have done this without him, because I feel like I wouldn't have survived. Like I could barely get up and prepare my own food. So I'm just really, really blessed. Like God has really shown me that I am married to a man who knows Jesus and loves like him. It has been such a blessing to realize that I have this, and just be so blessed and appreciative of that, and make sure I let him know. So other symptoms I had and still have some: pregnancy brain. Oh my gosh, it is no joke. Like I cannot explain things as well. I cannot draw connections in my brain or think of words as easily or as well as I used to. I forget things instantly sometimes, and that is not like me. I'm usually very responsible and on the ball, and yet something about the hormones and the focuses in the body, my brain just doesn't function right. And it's really weird. Like for me, I do pride myself, I guess, in being like well-spoken and intelligent and all these things, but it's like that's definitely taken a hit with everything, and it's still that way, and I'm not sure when that goes away. Other more minor symptoms, of course, most women experience gassiness and bloating. That's very normal. It's become much more normal for me to just burp in public, because like you kind of just have to burp all the time, so it's just funny. Constipation's a really normal early on symptom, which thankfully I no longer am dealing with. What's the word for sleeping terribly? See, I'm telling you, like I can't. Insomnia. So insomnia, like for days, it's been a long time since I've actually slept through the night like I used to do every night. Usually I'm tossing and turning or waking up several times a night. I usually don't sleep for more than a few hours of a chunk at a time. That is something that I feel is also very common. Pregnancy dreams, oh my gosh, intense dreams. So far I haven't had any dreams about my baby or anything happening to the baby, but I will have dreams of family members trying to kill me or being killed, like terrible, terrible, intense dreams. And most of the time I have the awareness that this is not real, and so I don't get too shaken, but there's been a couple that have affected me, and it's like, it's crazy. I just want to make sure I hit all the physical ones before moving on to kind of the emotional journey. Shortness of breath is huge. Anytime I talk like this passionately for a while, I tend to need to pant for a while. I was not able to work out most of my first trimester, which might help with that a little bit. Body aches and pains, but that's more towards into the second trimester. Headaches, did I mention headaches? They can get so bad sometimes. Like I had one at Christmas at my husband's family's where it started around 3, and it was probably migraine level. Like I couldn't handle light, I couldn't handle noise, and I just went downhill from that point. We didn't leave till like 7, so like 4 hours I'm just like dying basically and trying to get through the night, and it was not great. Hydration and magnesium can help with headaches, but it can always be difficult to keep hydrated when you're feeling nauseous and throwing up. So yeah, I had weight loss. I lost 7 pounds in my first trimester, and I'm still actually like 3 under what I was when I tested positive. And at my point, it's actually normal to have gained 5 or more pounds. So that is, you know, something that can happen. All right, so emotional stuff. I mean, for the first few weeks, there was a lot of, actually, let's be real, maybe a month or 2, a lot of accepting that needed to happen, because we were not planning this child initially, and it was a surprise to us. And so we just got married in June. We've only known each other for a year now, so it was just not something we're planning to do so suddenly. And there's an aspect of grieving kind of the loss of the hopes and plans that you'd had before children were in the picture. And even though I know that having children is a blessing and God knows best and I trust his plan, there still is a healthy grieving that needed to take place, and an acceptance and a realization that this is real. And that definitely was difficult. The next emotional struggle I had was feeling helpless. And I do, like I said, I pride myself on being capable and independent, like all these things, like things that went out the window when I was so sick. I couldn't do anything. And my husband had to do it all. And I was really battling with guilt. Like, I should be able to do this. Like, other pregnant people don't say they can't do this and this. Like, I should be able to do this. Truth is, do not have high expectations on your performance while you're pregnant, because it is a season where your body is working way harder than you can even see. Just developing the baby, and during the first trimester, developing organs, the nervous system, like heartbeat, all the details, the placenta, all of that is growing. And so I think we just don't see firsthand how hard our body's working and how much of a toll it takes on us, that we have trouble giving ourselves grace enough to accommodate. I needed to learn to allow my husband to serve me without feeling the need to always say something like, oh no, I can do it, or oh, you know, I had to allow him to serve and love me the way that he did. And I had no choice, because I couldn't take care of myself, really. I really couldn't. And it's humbling. It can be very humbling to get to that point. Pregnancy it should be empowering ultimately, but it is also the most vulnerable that you'll be. Pregnancy and labor and delivery, like, that's vulnerability. So feeling that, eventually down the line here in the last month, last month of the second trimester or first trimester and stuff, experiencing some situational depression. And it wasn't like, and I'm not one to usually deal with mental health problems at all. But when you are so sick for so many weeks ongoing, and you're just counting down the days to maybe feeling better, like maybe feeling good again for the first time in ages, it feels like it really can get to you. It limits so much in your life, your social life, things that normally make you feel like you're contributing and doing well, and all these things, like it goes out the window. So, and then dealing with that pain wears you down. It is so exhausting. It is so tiring. I definitely started to just feel a complete lack of spark or zeal for life. I definitely didn't get so low to where I was worried about my safety or anything, but it definitely just, it's that undertone of just, you know, like, I'm over this. I'm so tired. I'm so exhausted. I have no motivation. And thankfully, I'm breaking through that now. And I do believe it was just because of the physical effects. On top of that, there's just some normal mood swings, people call them. But for me, I just consider it temptation to be irritable, or to not care as much about other people's stuff. Like, I don't know, like, there's just a sense of, like, you just need to really be taking care of yourself, so you can't really deal with other people's crap or whatever. But like, there's a sense of, I had to actively try to be a good and nice and kind wife and person. Like, I actually had to try a lot harder, because my nature, I was so worn thin that I felt like I could go off in a second if someone said something. I could cry in an instant. I cried mostly once a week or so on my husband's shoulder, for just to be consoled for this stuff I'm going through. And he was amazing and very receptive to it. But yeah, there's just a sense of touchiness, sensitivity, irritability that can really come along with pregnancy. Some people like to call it mood swings. I know I can still control my actions, and so I'm not gonna say, like, I was just such a mean person. No, like, you can still control who you are, but it took a lot more energy and effort. And I made sure that I put what effort I had into that, because I didn't want to remember back that I was mean to my husband who loved me so selflessly. So this video is already getting so long. See, I'm passionate about this. I'm not even gonna edit this. So overall, I think I've captured most of the symptoms that I was dealing with. Oh, also, you like salivate tons extra, and just like I'm starting to get discharge, like nasal discharge and stuff, just extra. It's really weird. I can feel my heartbeat everywhere all the time because my blood is like 50% increased, which happens towards the middle and end of the first trimester. There's just some weird things like that. I can talk about tips and things that I did to help, but ultimately there's nothing to get rid of nausea. There's nothing to completely alleviate all of your symptoms, and that's part of pregnancy. So pregnancy is hard, and I just wish that I had known what to expect a little bit more so that I could realize that I shouldn't expect as much of myself. Prepare to go through a hard time, and just know that it will end and it will get better. It seems like people are not open about their first trimester. They're not open about pregnancy. And I've actually heard a lot of stories since I've been pregnant of many women in my life who've had normal to extreme pregnancies. Like, it's insane. I wish that we talked more about it, just so that women like me and like you guys can just not feel so alone and feel more prepared and feel empowered. And yeah, I don't know. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today. If you have further questions about the first trimester of pregnancy, or would like me to continue updating you throughout, just let me know in the comments. I'd be happy to answer questions or talk more on this subject. Yeah. I'm very grateful to be in the second trimester, even though I'm still not feeling better. They like to say that second trimester is amazing and you feel so energized and all these things, and it's like, at least so far, that's not the case for me. Maybe I will get lucky, but as of now, it is much better than it was. But I'm not jumping for joy yet. It is not easy still. So anyway, I think I'll bring this video to a close. It's long enough. Thanks for those who stayed and watched, and more content to come. Anyway, God bless you guys, and thank you for watching.